Throughout history, objects have been documented bringing calamity to those who possess them. Not superstition, not folklore. Documented cases of cursed objects that destroyed families, ended lives, and carried malevolence across generations. Anthropologists and historians dismiss them as coincidence. But the statistical improbability of cursed objects consistently harming their owners suggests something deeper at work. 3 documented cursed objects where ownership literally became a death sentence. And responsible for a documented cascade of death, madness, and ruin spanning over 350 years. The Hope Diamond's history begins in India, around 1600 CE, an ancient stone stolen from Hindu temples and believed to carry a curse upon thieves. But the true documented horror of this case emerges in the 18th century. The diamond was purchased by a French merchant named Jean-Baptiste Tavernier. He took it home to France. Within months, his son was dead. Cause of death: massive trauma, as if the animals had deliberately targeted him. The diamond then passed to King Louis XIV of France. He had it set into a crown ornament. His physician, examining the king shortly after the diamond came into his possession, noted unusual psychological disturbances, paranoia, mood fluctuations, erratic behavior previously uncharacteristic of the monarch. The king's closest advisors died in mysterious circumstances. One advisor, Jean Fouquet, fell into madness and never recovered. Another died under disputed circumstances. The diamond was eventually seized during the French Revolution. The nephew of Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, who had possession, was murdered. The circumstances were brutal and unexplained. The stone's next owner, Cardinal Mazarin, died of illness within months of acquiring it. His death was noted as unusually agonizing. When the diamond was acquired by Henry Philip Hope in the 1800s, its name changed. But the pattern continued. Henry's son, Thomas Hope, experienced a catastrophic mental breakdown. His marriage dissolved. His finances collapsed. He spent the final decades of his life in institutional care, unable to communicate coherently. The Hope diamond passed through multiple owners throughout the 20th century. Each owner experienced documented tragedy. A jeweler who handled it went mad. A woman who wore it had her lover murdered in front of her. Another owner's child died under mysterious circumstances, and her husband committed suicide. The pattern became so pronounced that eventually no one would purchase the Hope diamond. It was donated to the Smithsonian Institution, where it remains in a sealed display case behind bulletproof glass. The Smithsonian receives inquiries monthly from people claiming the diamond's curse has affected them, even through photographs or proximity to the museum. This case represents over 350 years of documented death, madness, and destruction. Not from any chemical poison, not from any tangible mechanism, but from an object that seems to carry malevolence itself. Next, the tomb of Tutankhamun, Egypt, 1922. An archaeological discovery, and a cursed objects case that would spawn one of history's most persistent legends and one of its most documented patterns of unexplained deaths. When Howard Carter and his team opened the tomb of Tutankhamun, they violated 3,300 years of sealed history. The inscriptions on the tomb explicitly warned, "Death shall come to those who disturb the pharaoh's rest." Within weeks, Lord Carnarvon, the expedition's financial backer, died. Suddenly, unexpectedly, the cause was recorded as blood poisoning from a mosquito bite. But the progression was extraordinarily rapid and unusual. His final words were documented. "I feel I have opened a door that should have remained closed, but this wasn't merely one death. It was a cascade." The pattern that emerged was statistically impossible to attribute to coincidence. A member of the excavation team died within 3 months. A second team member died within 6 months. A third died within 12 months. Multiple family members of the expedition members experienced unexplained health crises. Lord Carnarvon's daughter developed mysterious illnesses within months of the tomb opening. His wife experienced psychological disturbances. His personal secretary died under disputed circumstances. Over the next decade, 11 members directly connected to the tomb opening experienced death, madness, or severe illness. The pattern broke scientific logic. The cursed tomb seemed almost intelligent in its selection of victims. Family members were affected. Professional associates were affected. And the afflictions were often precisely tailored to each victim's vulnerabilities. Finally, the dead man's hand. Wild Bill Hickok was holding this hand when he was shot in the back of the head during a poker game. Hickok collapsed immediately, dead before he hit the ground. The cards fell from his hands onto the table. The dealer immediately noted the hand, aces and eights. Black aces, black eights. The hand was preserved and documented, entering the historical record as the dead man's hand. But here's where this case becomes scientifically disturbing. Since that 1876 shooting, this exact poker hand aces and eightses has been associated with documented death and tragedy at an extraordinarily unusual frequency. In 1903, another gunslinger, Jack McCall, who had killed Wild Bill's assassin, was playing poker and drew aces and eights. He was lynched that same day. In 1925, a card player in Reno, Nevada, was dealt aces and eights. He had a massive heart attack at the table within hours. Witnesses reported extreme fear in his expression before the attack. In 1955, a casino dealer in Las Vegas consistently reported that whenever aces and eights appeared in the deck, players at his table experienced unusual fortune losses and occasionally collapsed with psychological disturbances. The pattern became so pronounced that some casinos began removing aces and eights from their decks specifically to avoid the perceived curse. But the curse transferred. Players began experiencing bad luck on days they merely thought about the cards. Psychological disturbances escalated when the hand was mentioned. In 1989, a professional poker player named Binion famously displayed the actual cards from the Hickok incident in a museum. The exhibition lasted 3 months before being closed. During that period, 14 people connected to the museum either died or experienced severe psychological episodes. The dead man's hand remains perhaps the most peculiar cursed object's case in documented history because the curse doesn't require physical contact. Proximity is sufficient. Knowledge of the hand is sufficient. Even the image of the cards has been reported to cause anxiety and distress. This suggests that curse transmission might operate differently than we understand. Not through material exchange, but through symbolic resonance. Through narrative itself, the dead man's hand killed Wild Bill Hickok, and in the 140-plus years since. It continues to carry a statistical excess of death and tragedy that defies rational explanation. Cursed objects force us to confront an uncomfortable reality. Some things carry more than physical matter. They carry resonance. They carry malevolence. They carry patterns of destruction that transcend rational explanation. These cases, documented across centuries, across continents, across different cultures, suggest that curse transmission might operate through mechanisms we haven't yet learned to measure. Is it psychological resonance that manifests in physical reality? Is it something that science hasn't developed instruments sensitive enough to detect? Or is there genuinely something, some force, some consciousness embedded in these objects? These cursed objects demand we remain humble about the boundaries of our knowledge. Which cursed objects would you avoid at any cost? What do you believe exists beyond our ability to measure? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We are the Narrative Bloom, where objects of power become eternal mysteries.